That's nice.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Twang and Bang. When I was young, my dad would tell me that a sharp tool was a safe tool, and that is a really difficult concept for a young mind to grasp. Because you think that a sharp knife is more likely to cut you, and it's going to cut you worse when it does. But of course, the truth is that a sharp knife takes less pressure to do its job, and it's less likely to slip from what it's cutting and cut you. Same thing for something like a splitting maul. The sharper I make this, the less likely it's going to bounce out of the log and try and make its way into my shin. And that's why I spend a fair amount of my adult life keeping all of my tools sharp. Well, being that it takes a lot of time, I've been looking for a better way of doing it. And that's when I first learned about the WorkSharp knife and tool sharpening system. But before I bought one, I heard about this one. It's their Ken Onion edition that they just came out with. It's a much upgraded tool. It's got a bigger motor, more control over the speeds of the motor, takes wider belts, it's got more adjustability in the sharpening guides, and that's why the WorkSharp Ken Onion edition is coming up next on Twang and Bang. The original WorkSharp earned a lot of fans since it's been introduced, but heavy users have been asking for something a little bit more. That's where the Ken Onion edition comes in. Its combination of upgrades makes things easier for the beginning sharpener while giving a lot more sharpening options to the expert sharpener. Though it uses 3/4 inch abrasive belts made by WorkSharp, the Ken Onion edition is also backwards compatible to the 1/2 inch belts that a lot of customers might already have. So it literally can do everything the original WorkSharp can do and more. The feature list on a Ken Onion edition is extensive, from the variable speed power switch with lockout to the included bench mount fastener and fitting. WorkSharp listened to the requests of its customers, and the Ken Onion edition is the result. The WorkSharp uses an auto-tensioning roller bearing which makes changing belts extremely easy. For your safety, it's best to unplug the tool so you don't accidentally power it up while your hands are in the mechanism. And the belts come off just as easily as they go on. The sharpening guides on a Ken Onion edition are spring-loaded to help reduce the chance you'll put too much pressure on the blade. The sharpening angle is infinitely adjustable from 15 to 30 degrees, allowing you to fine-tune the edge based upon your cutting needs. The guide also easily pops off for free-handed sharpening or to use the WorkSharp to sharpen tools. The locking lever allows you to quickly position the sharpening cassette at several different angles. The WorkSharp's abrasive belts do put a different kind of edge on a knife than you would get from using sharpening stones. Their materials do a better job of showing it than I could ever generate on my own. Flat stones, of course, put a flat bevel on an edge, but because the abrasive belts curve around the tip of a knife, it puts a curved or convex edge on the blade. There are pros and cons for both kinds of edges, but a convex edge is going to do very well for the vast majority of cutting tasks that you'll use it for. The WorkSharp does take some practice to use, but they take a lot of guesswork out by including this really handy quick start guide. I really like how they boiled the instructions down to this flow chart. It makes it really easy to know what you need to do in order to get an edge on just about any knife you own. The flowchart will tell you which belt to start with and how many strokes to give the knife on each side. Once you adjust the sharpening guide to your desired angle, sharpening is largely a matter of just letting the weight of the blade and the RPM of the motor do the work for you. The part that takes the real practice is sharpening the point. You want to make sure that you preserve your sharpening angle and don't round the tip off. Getting the tip right was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but it is something I practiced on an older knife before trying on this knife. An important thing to notice is there is no sparking whatsoever from the abrasive belt on the blade. Though you can warm the blade up a bit with repetitive strokes, the WorkSharp keeps the edge cool enough to preserve its temper. This is the #1 concern a lot of knife people have about using a belt sharpening system. But Ken Onion put his name on this tool because the choice of abrasives and belt speed do a great job of getting you an edge without risking the temper. The WorkSharp makes it really easy to sharpen even odd blades like this muskrat from Knives Alaska. Most sharpening systems are set up for straight edges and they have a real hard time with a rounded blade like this. But it's no problem for the WorkSharp. Though each side took 2 passes, it was really easy for me to sharpen all the way around the blade. And best of all, the edge that I got was much better than the factory edge. Here's the edge as it came from the factory, and yes, this sets the bar really low. But nonetheless, this was a very effective edge that was able to skin several deer. And here's the edge now after spending maybe a total of 5 minutes sharpening it with the work sharp. Not only is the edge more even all the way around, there's a lot less grain to it. You can see almost a mirror polish on it. Though the edge on my Gerber is a whole lot better than that Muskrat, you can still see a lot of grain on it. But with just a few minutes of progressing through the belts on the work sharp, I was able to get a near mirror finish on this. And that edge is as sharp as it is smooth. The Ken Onion Edition also has this easy to deploy roller edge guide for longer knives such as this 8-inch chef knife. The plastic roller supports the edge without damaging it as you pull the blade through the sharpening stroke. The guide not only aligns the blade, but it also reduces hand fatigue as you sharpen these larger knives. The bench mounting hole has the same threads as a tripod. This is really handy when you want to use the tool in places where you don't have a bench or table to do your sharpening. For safety, I would never use the trigger lock on a tripod. But even though I'm holding onto the tool, the tripod is holding it very steady. There's no wobble whatsoever. Of course, it's called the Work Sharp Knife and Tool Sharpener, and it does a great job of sharpening tools like this splitting maul. Pop off the sharpening guide, adjust the cassette forward, and the included grinding belt makes quick work of a dull edge like this. The Work Sharp does sell an accessory cassette specifically for tool sharpening. The standard sharpening cassette is still very effective. I had no problems putting exactly the edge I wanted on this splitting maul. Even after using the Work Sharp to take all the dings and burrs off of the shovel head of my Crubble Extreme, there was still plenty of abrasive left on the grinding belt. Everything about this Work Sharp is designed to last. If you're looking for a magic knife sharpener where you put a dull knife in, press a button, and then a perfect edge comes out, that product doesn't exist. But if it did, I'm sure it would have Work Sharp on the side of it. This tool does take practice to learn how to use, and you want to start with, not your best knives in order to get used to how the edge guide works, how you're supposed to do the pressure, stopping and starting, those kind of things. Those are techniques that you need to learn. But once you do, you're going to find that work goes very quickly in putting edges on all your different knives and the different tools that you might have. Of course, the Ken Onion Edition's retailing for about $150 right now, and that might be steep for a lot of people. But if that's too rich for your blood, the original Work Sharp is half that, and it gives you 80% of the functionality of the Ken Onion Edition. If you want to learn more about the Ken Onion Edition, be sure to click the link in the video description below. If you like this video, please take the time to log into YouTube and click the like button. It'll really help me out. Be sure to click right here to subscribe so you can catch my next videos on bows, guns, and other cool stuff like this Work Sharp. I really appreciate you watching Twang and Bang, and I hope to see you next time.